Wait a minute, did Erica Mena just risk missing the 13th season finale of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta because she might have been kicked out of the reunion for that slap that was heard among the cast? Rumor has it that a heated argument backstage caused tensions to flare up, and things got very rough. Security is on high alert, producers are rushing, and viewers are left wondering, will Erica be banned from the grand finale? The event has shaken the reunion plans to their core, according to production-related sources, and executives are now, seriously, debating whether Erica should even be permitted to return to the set. This drama is blowing up much more than anyone could have predicted, with cast members picking sides and emotions running high. Not to mention that Erica has previously found herself in hot water due to her fierce temper. However, this time, it could be the last straw for her. Could Erica's tenure on LHHATL come to an end as a result of this frightening altercation? Or is the story more complicated than it first appears? Because this isn't just reality TV, it's reality fire. Stay tuned as we examine every shocking turn, betrayal, and accusation that might permanently alter the season 13 reunion. With every cell of her body shaking from the adrenaline rush, Erica collapsed into the faded velvet couch in her dressing room. Outside the door, the faint sound of crew footfall was broken up by clipped orders and hurried whispers. She wished for her heart to slow by pressing her palms against her temples. But the slap's memories continued to play back in her head like a distorted movie reel. She could hear the audience's collective gasp, Jess's gasp, and even the slight snap of the camera shutter in her mind. With every second that went by, the room seemed to get smaller, as though the walls were closing in to see her fail. Outside, the reunion set was littered with upturned chairs, broken water bottles, and pieces of broken glass. Props were flying after Erica's outburst, and hosts were rushing to put things back in order. In an instant, the phrase "Erica slapped Jess" became a drumbeat that reverberated on social media and beyond as it quickly swept across chat rooms and halls. Fan forums erupted with conjecture, while gossip bloggers lit up their feeds. Some denounced it as unprofessional, while others referred to it as a PR gimmick. However, underlying the internet storm was a powerful reality. Erica's reputation had crumbled. Vaughn sat next to her in the little room, his voice frantic and low. "We must have a plan," he whispered. Steely resolution took the place of his often lighthearted tone. "If we don't handle it properly, this could get you banned." Erica shook her head, hair cascading over her eyes. She rasped, "I don't care about the show." He grabbed for her hand, but she gently slapped it away, saying, "I care about defending myself." "Not right now," she muttered. Her voice trembled. "I'm still thinking." In the meantime, producers gathered in a nearby control booth and discussed Erica's future. One executive advocated for immediate removal in an anxious voice. Another retorted that controversy was what reality TV was all about. Someone with fingers hovering over a keyboard said, "Ratings will skyrocket." While one said, "This is gold," another was concerned about liability and the reputation of the network. Legal counsel was waiting, statements were being written, and surveillance footage was being examined. Like electricity, the conflict between the corporate prudence and the artistic yearning for drama flared. The rest of the actors gathered in nervous clusters on the set floor. Monique observed Erica's dressing room door with her arms crossed, as though it were a scene from a crime drama. With her phone in hand and her fingers speeding across the screen, Bambi bounced from foot to foot. As she read live tweets, she declared, "Fans are shocked." The Duchess, who is always the mediator, attempted to soothe tense feelings by saying, "Some are defending her, some are demanding she be fired." She suggested that we concentrate on our statements, but her eyes showed that she was unsure herself. Loyalty lines had been established, and alliances glowed on the brink of dissolution, with a voice that was almost audible above a whisper. Yandi hovered near a makeup station. Erica's position as queen of confrontation had been passed down to her, but this time it was different. It was a physical encounter. She confessed to herself, gritting her teeth, that she had a twinge of fear and pity. What did it indicate for the others if Erica could lose control this spectacularly? There was a spark of self-preservation in her eyes. Unsure whether to step in or watch, she retreated. Outside, crew members were running errands and chatting in the corridors. Erica's knocked-aside prop champagne bottles were dragged away by a grip as a hairstylist restyled the curls of another cast member. At least that was the slogan booming through walkie-talkies. The show must go on. A caterer, unaware of the drama that was brewing, peered in with a tray of sandwiches. However, nobody was hungry, and the sandwiches remained unopened. While mumbling about the viral video he had shot, a cameraman slung his equipment over his shoulder. He said, "This is going viral. We'll have weeks of fame." Erica sought to calm her breathing once she was back in the privacy of her own area. In order to confirm that this was genuine and not a dream, she touched the faint red impression on the back of her hand. Her eyes stung at the edges, but she fought the need to cry. Instead, she smoothed uncooperative hair strands with a hand. As she ran it through her moist hair, the stranger that stared back at her from the tiny mirror was simultaneously fearful and victorious. Fierce and shattered. Anguish shadowed his face as he surveyed her profile. He emphasized that we have to control the narrative. His eyes pleaded for certainty, but his words were pragmatic. Drawing from a well of resistance, Erica closed her eyes. "We tell them I was pushed too far," she said in a quiet but firm voice. With a look of relief and resolve on his face, Vaughn nodded slowly, saying, "We don't admit fault, but we show I won't be bullied." "All right," he said, "we do it." He used the speakerphone to dial a number. He said, "This is Vaughn." As soon as someone picked up, he laid out a well-planned story, saying, "We need to issue a statement about Erica's incident." It included a balance between offensive and defense, a slight veer into the realm of self-defense, and a hint of apology without acknowledging wrongdoing. Erica silently practiced her own lines while he spoke, calm, earnest, and unrepentant. She was still furious on the inside, but her anger had a new focus: survival, image preservation, and performance. Social media warriors were getting ready for combat at the same time. Influencers filmed response videos from adjacent hotels. Polls were made by fan accounts asking whether Erica should stay or leave. Memes with Erica's outstretched arm, Jess's shocked face, and the moment captured in pixelated legend quickly appeared. While some hashtags denounced her outburst, others supported Erica's right to self-defense. The discourse broke off on different platforms, with each echo chamber fostering a different version of what happened. The slight hum of cameras rebooting in the background indicated that the production was not done with them. None of the contestants were able to get over the slap's after effects as the following reunion portion approached. As they went back to their seats, a persistent tension permeated every shot. Ignoring the underlying animosity, the lighting team repositioned spotlights. The crowd, crammed into the studio bleachers, was teeming with excitement, ready to see what would happen next. Erica's thoughts strayed to her previous disputes on the show, including family feuds, covert alliances, and betrayals. She had never gone over the edge into violence, even though each feud had gotten more intense. Her legacy was in danger of being redefined by this tragedy. She pondered if her admirers would view her as a self-respecting fighter or as a criminal who lost control. The concept itself hurt like a slap. Her fists clenched as she forced herself to maintain her composure. The true battle had just begun. Erica knew, as she looked into the mirror again, there would be production meetings, social media storms, interviews, and headlines. Every comment she made, image she shared, and interview footage would be examined. She braced herself for the impending storm. She let out one last deep breath and got up from the couch, inspecting her mirror and straightening the straps of her dress. Although the violent moment had ended, she was prepared to fight in the ongoing battle for her reputation. With the pressure of 100 eyes on her back, Erica left the dressing room, with every stride reverberating louder than the last. The Wanseri corridor now felt like a gauntlet. She was surrounded by the hum of overhead lights, the distant murmur of the audience waiting, and the buzz of crew radios teeming with tension. She stopped, placed her hand on the doorframe, inhaled deeply, and then pushed forward, awaiting the reunion stage. Things were different this time. As she got closer, she noticed that the other actors were already seated behind the intense spotlights. Their expressions were masks of thinly veiled excitement, concealed disappointment, and mild curiosity. Monique looked at Erica with inscrutable eyes as she tapped her red-painted fingernails on her knee. Bambi, whose phone was always in her hand, heard the Duchess murmur something to her. Yandi sat with his back straight and his lips squeezed into a precise line. Even Spice, who was typically full of sarcasm and humor, was serious, her customary smile having been replaced with a tight-lipped scowl. The entrance music's distant bass beat in time with Erica's heartbeat. The soft couch felt strange and overly big beneath her as she sought her place. The host gave Erica a courteous nod while clearing his throat, appearing uneasy. He said softly into his microphone, "Welcome back." Erica forced herself to look unfazed and smiled curtly. However, underneath her composed facade, her thoughts were racing. How would this part unfold? Would the first hint of conflict cause the network to cut off? Would she be allowed to talk at all? Awkwardly, the conversation began with kind requests for personal updates. Erica forced smiles where none existed and responded in truncated terms. The audience leaned forward, feeling uneasy. Some gave encouraging cheers, while others whispered to one another. The tension itself seemed to be a living, breathing entity on stage. When the host eventually stated, "Let's address the elephant in the room," a slow-mo replay of the slap was shown on a huge screen, and the studio lights were dimmed for dramatic effect. Every frame on the TV pricked Erica's conscience in that instant. She saw her palm leap forward, the shocked expression on her co-stars' faces, and Jess's bewildered visage. The moment was emphasized by the music swell, which transformed the ordinary into a spectacle. Erica's heart pounded, but she continued to stare at the video. The host's voice broke through. "Why did you do it, Erica?" With both hands on her knees and a powerful yet low voice, Erica leaned in. She claimed, "I was defending myself. This was my breaking point after months of hearing half-truths and rumors about me." There was a wave of mixed applause and moans from the audience. "Amen" was yelled from the audience. Another jeer with raised eyebrows. The host nodded. "Can you give more details?" He pushed Erica aside as she related her side of the tale, including the whispered insults, the off-camera taunting, and the sense of betrayal she experienced when Jess circulated an unsubstantiated rumor about her family. She talked on trust, loyalty, and what it was like to be portrayed as a villain. She spoke steadily, walking a tightrope between defiance and vulnerability with each sentence. At the height of the tension, Monique broke the silence with a clear voice. Her tone was sharp, unyielding, and not malevolent. "Erica, you crossed a line." With her eyes sparkling, Erica turned to face her. "Have I gone too far? Of all people, you..." When their opinions clashed like electricity, the host quickly stepped in to refocus the discussion and encourage everyone to be polite. "I'm not saying I don't understand why, but violence isn't the answer," said Monique, raising a hand. However, things rapidly became tense. Leaning forward, the Duchess linked fan backlash to Monique's point. She declared, "Social media is ablaze. The network is watching. Fans are shocked." And comments were filled with strong feelings. "We could all lose because of this." Erica resisted the impulse to roll her eyes. "So I have to say I'm sorry for defending myself?" she inquired. A chorus of yeses and nos was raised by the audience in response, with each cry pressuring Erica to either back down or reveal more. Then, in a worried tone, Yandi spoke. She declared, "We are family. We argue and reconcile. But this is on another level." Erica gazed at Yandi, her anguish and sadness evident. "Relatives," she repeated. Then, when those lies were told, did I not have protection?" The stage went silent for a while, as though everyone was holding their breath. In anticipation of the following move, even the lights of the crew appeared to flicker. When a surprise video clipped backstage footage of Jess approaching Erica earlier that week. Despite her own warnings going unheeded aired, the drama took a drastic turn. As Erica stormed off, observers witnessed Jess chuckle and a violent argument. The video muddied the story by demonstrating that both sides were at fault. The audience was filled with gasps and whispers. With her arms folded, Erica sat back and let the tape do the talking. Seeing his chance, Vaughn made an appearance on the television through a private taped message. "We all make mistakes, and emotions get the best of us." He spoke directly to the crowd. Although Erica's deed was extreme, it was a response to months of stress. His tone was sincere, bordering on begging. Erica watched with a mixture of relief and anxiety. Would the people be swayed by her champion's speech? The focus turned to the network's internal council as the second phase of the crisis developed. Potential consequences were shown in a visual, with bullet points: suspension, contract, renegotiation, a forced apology tour, or expulsion from the finals. Nothing was finalized. The host reminded everyone. The screen split, displaying the results of a real-time poll. 47% wanted Erica removed, 38% wanted her to stay, and 15% were unsure. He stated, "The network will decide, but we want to hear from you." Each percent was a hit to Erica's self-confidence as the numbers moved across the screen. Fan responses, meanwhile, were displayed in real time back in the audience. With every poll update, the crowd's enthusiasm fluctuated. Some had placards that read Team Erica, while others read No Violence. A small group of supporters held up a banner that read, "Self-defense isn't a crime." Cheers, jeers, and panicked. Emotions were all mixed together into the show's soundscape by noise professionals, who were unable to control the oral volume coming from the stands. Erica's determination faltered. Like a tide, the sliver of uncertainty she had repressed came to the surface. What if she was banned by the network? What if she lost her reputation forever? Reminding herself that this was a turning point, she pushed her jaw to remain loose. She could either fight and stand her ground or back down with her pride in shambles. The latter was her choice. "I'm sorry it got physical," said Erica, clearing her throat and raising her voice. "I don't want to be that person." However, the presenter gave her the floor with a solemn nod, saying, "I will not apologize for speaking out against disrespect and lies." The audience shifted uneasily and applauded in response. The Duchess gave a tentative nod of assent. Monique appeared puzzled, and Yandi gave a pitying gaze. On stage, alliances changed in a subtle way in that moment. The next twist was the unexpected appearance of a well-known celebrity psychiatrist who was asked by the host to provide perspective via live broadcast. She discussed conflict resolution, emotional triggers, and the risks associated with unresolved anger. Erica's face softened as she listened carefully to her insights. As she nodded and accepted the prospect of development, spectators saw both vulnerability and a hint of power. The host concluded after the therapist's part. reminding everyone that the reunion was still going on and that the roster for the finale was still being decided. With sparkling eyes, he suggested, "We might see some changes." When Eric released his breath, the tension briefly subsided. However, there was a lot of excitement in the air. Would her name still be called during the recording of the grand finale? Would anyone watch to see her come back? After the segment, Erica found a peaceful spot backstage. She texted, "How did I do?" to Vaughn. His response was nearly immediate. "You were real. That's the only thing that counts." She gave herself a faint, tired grin. The next stage of her journey had begun, negotiating corporate choices, public scrutiny, and her own personal recovery. Although the slap had sparked a tempest, it had also given her the will to take back control of her tale at any costs. Erica moved out of the bustling hallway and into a quiet studio alcove. The sound of cameras and distant conversation, muffled like a dream that she could only vaguely recall. She sunk onto a low seat, trying to calm her pulse and smoothing her clothes. She was shocked to see another flurry of messages on her phone screen. "We need a longer statement by midday," said one of her publicists, while another from a cast conversation said, "Are you okay?" The words were loaded with caution. Her thumb hovered as she paused. The weight of expectations was pressing down at the time. Her network, friends, foes, and fans all wanted to know what she would do next. When Vaughn arrived, the lids of 2 coffee takeouts from a nearby catering station were rattling. He sat on a crate next to her and offered one without saying anything. His voice was raspy with emotion as he muttered, "You did good." With caution, Erica took a drink, feeling grounded by the harsh liquid. "Good," she repeated. He nodded and looked around the deserted hallway, saying, "I feel like I'm swimming in a storm. There are storms everywhere." With a sardonic and exhausted laugh, she said, "We just need to chart a course. I detest storms." In the meantime, producers gathered around a big digital board in a control room with glass walls upstairs. Scrolling through the tweets and polls were the following. Should Erica be forgiven? Did she merit it? Like a heartbeat, each slide was updated in real time. Legal advice highlighted the risks of breach of behavior by clicking through possible contract terms. One executive proposed holding a interview just for streaming services. Another advocated for an honest, spontaneous apology on social media to humanize Erica, as impulses for damage control conflicted with creative desires. Tensions flared. The reunion went on without her back. On set, in a brief aside, the host revealed that Erica would be making an exclusive statement during a special segment. The other actors looked at each other, their faces displaying a hint of uncertainty. Monique had a preference for Spice. "Are we meant to pass the time till she's ready?" Spice pouted with glossed lips and shrugged. Network adores tension. The Duchess sat poised, her gaze calm, yet calculating. "They'll milk it." They were all pieces on a board that she no longer had control over. With a clipboard in hand, Eric PR showed up. "We've got 20 minutes, she stated sharply. The statement must address regret, accountability, and a way forward. No more assigning blame. Erica sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I'm not placing blame on anyone," she emphasized quietly. However, the publicist tapped her pen and said, "I won't apologize for standing up for myself. We'll figure out the words. Let's begin with a straightforward apology and move on to progress." Erica closed her eyes, visualizing her voice, calm, earnest, and defiant. Word got out that Jess had consented to a separate interview while they were working. Outside, paparazzi set up camp near the studio's side entrance, lenses glinting and cameras poised. With a tight smile, Jess came out wearing sunglasses. In response to quick-fire questioning, she emphasized that this wasn't planned. Reporters pressed, "I regret how it went down. Will you seek charges?" She gave a headshake. The cameras clicked and whispered, "No one wins in violence," adding yet another stream of footage to the social media abyss. Erica's statement was written and edited within. Vaughn leaned forward and whispered, "Don't water it down," as each sentence was burdened with strategy. "I regret the physical altercation. I am committed to learning, and I value peace. Authenticity is essential," the publicist lamented. As she watched the ceiling, trapped between her personal truth and her career survival, Erica said, "Authenticity is great until it hurts ratings." The studio lights went down again as airtime drew closer. With deliberate care, Erica breathed in as she entered the set. As the audience's whispers increased, the cameras turned to face her. She folded her hands and sat back in her chair. The world felt suspended when the host gave a signal. After a heartbeat of stillness, she said steadily, "I want to address what happened. I apologize that things got out of hand." Her comments were composed, but there was a hint of steel in them. "I never intended for things to go that far. It was a moment of letting my guard down," she said, pausing to allow her apologies sink in. "I do not in any way support violence. I'm making an effort to better control my emotions." A flash of vulnerability appeared on her face. "I apologize to everyone who felt uneasy or disappointed. Thank you for your support, to those who can relate to my reaction." The cameras followed her face, catching each minute change in expression. Audience's response was a complicated combination of cautious nods, courteous applause, and a few assenting murmurs. Monique's face softened as she looked at her. The Duchess sat forward with her hands clasped, and Yandi's eyes glistened in a quiet show of support. After a thorough examination, the network would make a decision, the presenter said, thanking her for her bravery. With a tiny release of tension in her shoulders, Erica sighed. However, the consequences went beyond the set. Executives gathered viewer comments and legal suggestions back in the control room. Once a jab at her reputation, the polls now leaned toward forgiveness. 33% wanted an apology to her, 52% wanted her return, and 15% were unsure. We can retain the finale's star power and turn this into a redemption arc, said another executive with a spring in their voice. Legal concurred that there was no violation serious enough to nullify her contract. As consensus developed, tension decreased. After that, fatigued, yet oddly at ease, Erica withdrew to her dressing room. With arms wrapped around her in a consoling embrace, Vaughn joined her. "You had it?" he whispered. With a mixture of relief and lingering anxiety, she leaned into him and said, "And they heard you." With her head resting on his shoulder and her eyes closed, she answered, "Now we wait." Although the storm had passed one level, there were still more choices, scrutiny, and the issue of whether she would make it to the finals. The network in time would make the final decision. Erica slumped onto the soft armchair backstage, her limbs feeling as though they were being weighed down by all of the accusing eyes in the studio. She felt as though she was in a cave of quiet, even though the bright stage lights spilled over the patterned carpet through the partially open door. Crewmen hurried by her, their voices frantic but quiet, like insects chirping warnings. The strained gasps heaved in Erica's chest. Every echo of the smack echoed through every nerve ending as it played repeatedly in her head. "You all right?" Vaughn's voice cut through the mist. His face softened with concern as he knelt next to her. She held up a quivering hand. "I'm not sure," she managed to say. Sweat trickled down her temple like a bead. He put a steadying hand on her back and said, "My heart feels like it's tearing itself apart." With tears in her eyes, she shook her head, saying, "You did what you felt you had to. It's excessive." She saw Monique pacing like a predator pursuing its prey through the small window. Monique stopped every few steps to stare at the closed door while tapping her chin in a rhythmic warning. Erica recalled what Monique had said a few hours earlier, "Don't let them get inside your head." However, it's possible that the whispers had already crept in. More deeply than any smack could, the memory of Monique's steely look pierced through. The door immediately sprang open, voice clipped, clipboard in hand. The Duchess swept in. "We require a declaration." Now her tone was unassailable. Vaughn stood up and turned to the Duchess. The Duchess's eyes darted between them, saying, "Let her breathe. Network isn't going to wait." She pivoted on her heel and left as quickly as she had come, leaving Vaughn and Erica in uncomfortable stillness. Erica put her palms to her temples and closed her eyes. Where her palm and Jess's cheek had touched, the back of her hand tingled. She muttered, "I recall the moment slowing down." Vaughn swallowed, his expression. That stunned horror. It was visceral, she said, taking a deep breath and letting it out slowly. "I needed them to experience my daily emotions." Tension rumbled across the passageway. Hairstylists and cosmetics artists murmured strategy somewhere outside the door. Every prior story development had been eclipsed by the slap, which had become the focal point of the show. Theories abound in online fan forums. Was it real? Was it a staged event? Erica, however, was aware that the truth was ugly and from clickbait. With a voice full of passion, Vaughn murmured, "We need to control the narrative." With mascara streaking her cheeks, Erica opened her eyes. "What do you recommend?" Her voice was harsh but inquisitive as she asked. A draft statement appeared on his phone as he slid it over the table. Erica scanned the lines, each one feeling strange on her lips. Acknowledge the incident, express remorse for letting it escalate, but frame it as a reaction to months of provocation. "It sounds hollow," she muttered. "Authenticity is what I need." Vaughn's head dipped. With a reassuring smile, he said, "Then let's craft it together." Erica gave a tremulous laugh. He put a water bottle in her lap and said, "I can hardly speak. Begin small." She raised the bottle and touched his fingertips, saying, "Tell them why you were there." "I was there because, in front of millions of people I thought of as family, betrayed me." They were startled by a knock on the door. Vaughn got up. "They're prepared for filming." Erica stood up, her legs shaky for a heartbeat, but room whirled around as though the walls were wobbling. She steadied herself by holding onto the armrests. Despite her tremble, she lied and said, "I'm ready." The host's playful banter welcomed her back like barbed wire on stage. Erica blinked till the world straightened itself out of the glare. The soft couch was chilly under her as she found her place. Monique nodded cautiously next to her. She wasn't sure if it was an attempt to patch things up or a sign of more confrontation. The presenter leaned forward. "Erica, let's talk about what happened." With 100 unseen eyes staring at her, the audience held their breath. Eric took a breath and let it out gradually. "I lost control," she said in a steady but low voice. A murmur went throughout the audience. "I'm here to explain why." She couldn't tell if it was cynicism or anticipation. She looked directly at the host, hoping her remarks would be heard. "I've been portrayed as the bad guy for weeks. There were rumors circulating about my family, my loyalty, and my character." Heat surged in her cheeks as she woke up each day feeling little, invisible, and unheard. "I reached my limit that night. The questions came quickly. Why don't you just leave? Was there no other option?" Patiently, she responded to each, sharing intimate experiences such as whispered insults in changing rooms, secret talks that were secretly filmed, and the pain of being betrayed in public. She described how the weight of half-truths was pressing down on her like a vice and how Jess was involved in spreading lies. Leaning forward as though to hear every word, the audience moved behind her as she spoke, a highlight reel featuring her honest vulnerability, candid hugs with friends, and ropes of laughter with co-stars played. Her argument that she was more than a single impulse was emphasized by the contrast between those tender moments and the violent eruption. She inhaled deeply. "I don't justify my actions. The solution is not violence. However, I want you to see the lady who felt attacked, abandoned, and desperate, the woman who goes beyond the present." When Jess herself entered the stage with a reserved demeanor, the next tense moment came. Erica's throat constricted. Jess took a seat next to her, their distance from one another tight. Reconciliation was prompted by the host. "How do you react, Jess?" Jessica paused, looking from the host to Erica. She then said in a calm tone, "I regret the escalation." Shock flashed across Erica's face as she said, "We both played parts in this drama. A truce made in the midst of strife." "Thank you," said Erica in a barely audible whisper. However, Monique stood up with a clear voice as soon as the truce began to shimmer. "The harm is not undone by this." Erica nodded and braced herself, saying, "Apologies must be earned." "I get it," she answered. With a gauntlet thrown, Monique's words, "I'm committed to making amends," lingered in the air. Erica had a flash of insight as the host proceeded to end the segment. She addressed the audience at home, staring straight into the camera. Her voice was firm as she said, "If you've ever felt silenced or betrayed, you know how it hurts. However, each of us has the option to either rise above our suffering or lash out in it. I'm choosing to rise." There was a brief pause before cheers echoed, like distant thunder around the studio. After filming concluded, the actors scattered. With her legs trembling, but her spirit unwavering, Erica made her way backstage. With relief in his eyes, Vaughn waited. "You were amazing," he replied quietly. With fatigue and excitement melting into something akin to hope, Erica mustered a tiny smile. She muttered, "We still have a long way to go." He gave a nod. "But you made the initial move." The aftermath was all around them as they made their way through the maze-like hallways. Social media warriors analyzed each video. Producers gathered around monitors, and legal experts discussed contract terms. Erica took a big breath and exhaled it gradually. Although the slap had been the tipping point for her, she now sensed the beginning of something new, an opportunity for atonement, a moment to recover her story from chaos and rage. Thus, the first portion of her journey ended in a backstage hallway, a place of whispers and shadows, of terror and resolve. The distinction between victim and villain had become hazy in the spotlight of public scrutiny, and Erica's world had irrevocably changed. But she found resiliency in that hazy area. With the imminence of the climax came the prospect of a reckoning that may either ruin her or permanently alter her legacy. The dust has now settled because Erica refused to back down, faced the consequences, and made the decision to rise above the mayhem. One issue still stands as the ensemble gets ready for the showdown, and the network considers her fate. Will she return to the season finale, or will the slap serve as her farewell performance? The network's decision, and time will tell. But one thing is for sure, Erica's struggle has paved the way for unwavering spirit, forgiveness, and accountability. As spectators, you have seen every moment of resistance, every tear, and every tremble of doubt. Will you support her while she rebuilds bridges? Do you think her legacy should be defined by a single, unfiltered moment of emotion, or do you think she should have an opportunity to make amends? Join the discussion and leave your ideas in the comments section below. Please click the like button to express your support if you were moved by the suspense, the heartache, and the victory of Erica's tale. Remember to hit the bell and subscribe so you don't miss any of the drama that is taking place in Atlanta's hip-hop and love scenes. As Season 13 rushes toward its dramatic conclusion, we'll be here to break down every turn, every betrayal, and every moment of redemption. Tell us what you believe Erica should do next. Your opinion counts. Should she embark on a public apology tour, have another conversation with Jess, or adopt an unexpected redemption arc? For more fantastic stories and behind-the-scenes analysis, leave a comment, like, and subscribe. The drama is far from over, and this is only the beginning. Keep an eye out.